The Cubs play a thrilling series in Milwaukee, but needed better results. We talk about it all next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following on your preferred audio platform. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's Friday episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. Cubs lose 6-5 to the Brewers Thursday to split the series with their division rival. Cubs 6 games under 500 and 8 games back in the NL Central, as the necessity to update those totals each episode is getting very close to unnecessary by the minute, if not already. Cubs led 1-0 before the Brewers scored 4 in the bottom of the 5th. Brewers led 5-3 entering the top of the 8th, and Yan Gomes riled everyone up with a game-tying homer. But just minutes later, Victor Caratini hit a homer of his own off of Michael Fulmer, and the Cubs suffered another close defeat in what was a wild 4-game series, Sam.
Last 5 games, Matt. Down 6-2 late. 4-run comeback to tie it against one of the best relievers in the game, lose in extras. Up 6-0, find a way to lose late. Up a ton, blow it late, then come back and find a way to win in extras. Then down 2 late against one of the best relievers in baseball, come back to win it. And then on Thursday, just a thrilling up and down game that resulted in a loss. And if I'm being honest, and I hate to do this because actually you and my cousin Scott both were the guys that told me it's enough with the umpires, and you were right. And I really have done some digging on how much better the umpires are now than they used to be. And really the difference is just the box and the technology, so you can see every missed call. Go back and watch Livan Hernandez's complete game in 1997. Every strikeout looking's 10 inches off the plate. However, with that being said, that played a huge factor in this series, let alone Thursday's game.
Right.
Marcus Stroman had Victor Caratini struck out on a pitch that was called a strike just 2 pitches prior. He walks 2 batters later. The game's blown open. And it wasn't bad for both sides. It was inconsistent, which is tough. And then the relievers today, Fulmer and Leiter Jr., who can't hold on a runner to save his life, hurt the Cubs. And I really came away from this series, Matt, just like, and really these 5 games, like, it just is what it is. I it just doesn't feel like it's their year. And literally 30 minutes after the Cubs game, the Reds win a game where Nick Senzel, who's probably their worst offensive player, robs a homer and then hits a 2-run home run in extra innings. Like, it's just,
right.
You know this as well, if not better than I. Like, sometimes baseball is just baseball. And it's just too many times this year we've come away with just these really tough defeats. And we talked about it on yesterday's show. As important as retaining players, adding players is, it's just as important, if not more, to figure out how we could get this team in 2024 to match their record with their actual play. And that's going to be a key. As far as the buyer-seller stuff goes, look, we talk about the team every day. They're 8 back of the division, I believe 6 back of the wild card. They are now going, and by the way, it must be said too in their defense, the Madrigal and Swanson injuries played a huge part in this series, especially on Thursday's game. If Swanson's out there, that means Morel's at third. Wisdom doesn't come up with a runner in scoring position 3 straight times because he's not playing. It's really hard for this team to lose their left side of the infield right now.
Right.
They go to New York. We'll talk about that. That's going to be tough. And then, yes, they have 11 games before the break against teams that they're at least as good as, maybe not Boston and then better than, but because of the early struggles that we've chronicled in the games you gave away, it's not one of 162. It was one of about 85.
Right.
Your margin for error is basically zero at this point. Like if somebody asked me right before I came on, they said, Sam, what's the path to not selling? And that's also a loaded question because the Cubs could also be in sell mode, but not sell because they don't really, it's really just two guys we're talking about that really have value. And, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, 800 times. But the path is you have to win 2 of 3 in New York, and then you have to win like 9 of 11.
Yeah, next week we have plenty of second half storylines, including that softer schedule out of the break and then the potential to sell, who that would be, possible returns and things like that. Unfortunately for me right now, and I'm going to give it to you straight as we have for now over a year, as we hit the year mark just the other day, Monday's game was the turning point for me. Everything else is now theater to me. And it's not quite a ticket I would like to purchase. Yeah. I really don't want to be in attendance for these shows. But not literally the shows we're doing, but I mean the games.
Yeah.
And right. It's all theater. It's all entertainment. This series was a good series, but so what?
Right.
This team has a huge hole they dug themselves into. They hit every slice of the pie, every box of the bingo card, and this is what they get. And the players better not start complaining, dude. I heard a little bit after Thursday's game. Oh, the London trip. Oh, 13 games before the break. This, that. Oh, you like to get a split in a 4-game series. What? So now we're just going to make excuses and explain ourselves away for being a bad team this year? How does that add up?
Yeah.
I've had it with this team, dude.
Oh, wow.
It's just all fodder at this point. Why should I hang on to every pitch after Monday's game? Monday's game was like a huge relief in a way.
Yeah.
Because that's it.
Yeah, I think final straw would be better phrased than turning point.
Final straw.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get all the drink.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm not where you're at, which is weird because usually it's the other way around.
Right.
But I'm not insinuating I still think this team could make a run. I'm just not. I think I've just come to grips with it, that it just is what it is. And there are actual baseball reasons why they're here, of course. But there's also just like when it's not your year, it's not your year. I mean, think about everything that happened this week. Like you have the ridiculous blown game on Monday where your skipper puts
how do you blow a major league game up 6-0?
Well, you put Anthony.
That is the worst loss in baseball this year.
Well,
not for the Cubs, in baseball. The Cubs have the 2 worst losses in the sport this year.
Yeah, and the reason you lose them is because you
put to the Astros.
You put Anthony Kay in, and then you put Keegan Thompson in, and Thompson,
right.
the minute after the game ended, we haven't seen him since. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then you have Tuesday's fiasco where Contreras is running in the baseline. The roofs are opening. The umpiring's terrible, and counsel's arguing it's all in favor of the Brewers. Then you have Wednesday's game, which was like a dream. And then Thursday, you have just injuries and chaos. I mean, I'm almost kind of like exhausted.
Yeah.
And
I
so
what you're saying.
I really did, though, in a vacuum, enjoy the week. I think one big I have 2 long-term takeaways from this series that are real. Number one, Palencia is off to a really nice start.
Yeah, he looks good.
And the second thing is I think Cub fans are starting to come around to where I've been for a couple of years, which is the number one rival in this division is this team.
Totally.
St. Louis, I get it. That's the old school thing, and that's the team we're supposed to hate. I don't hate them. It's this team. I despise this team.
100%.
And I'm almost giddy that we even got 2, so it puts them farther out of the race because that's it.
All they do is complain.
Well, no, that Caratini walk came straight from the whining on the 2 pitches before from the Brewers. And that's why I always get on Ross to complain, because it does have value. These are human beings. The umpire, he was getting ready to ring him up, and then he went, ooh, it just got yelled at.
Right. Ball.
Yep.
And why don't the Cubs hit home runs? They're 20th in baseball in homers with 93. And let me give you the homer totals for their top 9 players by plate appearances this year. Let's go left to right. Happ with 7, Bellinger 8, Suzuki 6. Okay. Third to first, Madrigal with 1, Swanson with 10, Horner with 5, Mancini with 4. Gomes behind the dish with 8. Your DH is Morel for the most part. He's got 15. The only teams with less home runs, the Brewers, Red Sox, Marlins, A's, Tigers, Pirates, Rockies, Nationals, and Guardians in that order, 20 through 30, all behind the Northsiders. A couple of teams in that bottom 10 in the mix for the postseason, with the Brewers, Red Sox, and Marlins all over 500 right now. But I think you can say that hitting more homers does equal more wins.
Well, it's not even just the homers. Let me read you the slugging percentage of today's 1 through 5 today. Okay. The league average is 411. Talkman, 326. Horner, 384. Happ, an astoundingly atrocious 397. And Suzuki, 399. Happ and Suzuki cannot have slug. Their slug should be in the high 4s or low 5s. So those guys have really hurt the team.
Right.
And Happ walks so much that it gives this idea that he has been a really bad offensive player for like 2 straight months.
Right.
And Suzuki hasn't been much better. And I get it. He had a couple hits this week. He hit 35 home runs in Japan the year before he got here. It's ridiculous. Right. And clearly the Cubs made it a point for him to add muscle because they want more power, and it's the opposite. At least last year he was on a 20-plus home run pace. This year's a disaster in the slug, and he needs to figure it out because next year I'm going to suggest the Cubs make some moves. There's no guarantee he plays every day if this is the type of hitter he is.
Yeah, I mean, hit a ball over the fence. Yeah, Happ and Suzuki have played like they shouldn't play every day.
Especially in the corner outfield spots, you got to have pop.
And in the corner infield, they don't even have players there, much less homers.
Well, yeah, no, you're being really negative today, man.
I don't know. I think I'm telling it like it is, dude.
No. Well, I get in trouble for that as Vlad Guerrero Jr. takes a strike.
Right.
Would have been nice to see Ross get some of the real egregious calls today. I mean.
Yeah, sure. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, pretty much.
I'll talk to you.
We're just going to wrap it up. No, but actually, before we get to the other side, I do want to make a big announcement here about something we do want to test. And we'll put it on the banner below later in the show. This Sunday, that's 2 days from now, whenever you may be listening, but 12:35 Central Standard Time, the Cubs and the Yankees play the last game of the first half, and you can join us this Sunday at that time for the first ever Locked On Cubs live broadcast exclusively on YouTube. So if you're an audio peep of ours, catch us on YouTube exclusively that day. We're going to be on at 12:35, first pitch, Cubs, Yankees. We're going to get into the streaming biz for that game, at least test it out. And, of course, we can't play the feed on the air. But
you're going to watch the game with us.
Watch the game with us. It is a watch-along. And let's start getting some strategy doled out. You might have to pause your feed depending on what type of provider or the way that you watch the game, if you care to sync it up with how we react to the ball game. So that's this Sunday, 12:35 Central Standard for Cubs Yankees on YouTube. Sam, you're excited for that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be special.
Very good.
And I got the Marquee app on my computer now, really linked in, so I'm really not that far behind. I don't think we're going to need much adjustment.
Fantastic. Coming up next, Jared Young is bad, and he should be sent out on Friday. Stay tuned. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. For example, there is still a possibility that Sam and I attend our first Cubs game since hosting this show next Friday, Cubs-Red Sox. Theo Epstein's two former ball clubs. But the Cubs do need to actually win this weekend, I think, in order for that to happen. So we'll see. But we could use Game Time's help to go to that game to lead off the second half. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Cubs play the Yankees at 6:05 p.m. Central Friday, and you can listen to every pitch with the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. On the SXM app, search Cubs, or tune into channel 844 and catch the Cubs all season long on SiriusXM. Two moves that the Cubs should not wait around for next week to make on their roster, although I will say it does depend on Dansby Swanson, who could go to the IL on Friday with a left heel contusion, or he could start. The Cubs don't let us know, so no changes there. But I'd like to see Matt Mervis for Jared Young. Mervis has 53 plate appearances since being back at AAA. He's slashing in that time frame 279, 415, 535. He's got 2 bombs and 8 walks. And perhaps you see a return of David Bote for Wisdom, although, again, Wisdom doesn't necessarily have to be sent out since Swanson could go to the IL, although Wisdom probably should go despite still being second on the team in home runs.
Which is embarrassing.
He started at third, only out of pure need on Thursday, and as we mentioned earlier, batted ninth with no good at-bats. Meanwhile, Bote is slashing 268, 362, 459 at AAA, 8 homers, 18 doubles. He would have to be put on the 40-man as well, which could lead to some DFA discussion for like a Wisdom or a Rios or someone else.
And it's a better glove than Wisdom's too.
Right.
We're
going to go to the next segment.
Yeah, the Mervis thing is ridiculous now. Like I get why they brought up Young. They need to see.
I guess I get it. In hindsight, why did they send him down again?
Well, he wasn't hitting. They need to see if Mervis is.
He hit a ball into McCovey's Cove.
They need to see if Mervis is the guy in the future. If he's he's auditioning for the 2024 spot.
Yeah, I would think.
And he needs to play a lot. And like I also would like to see him get in there against lefties. I know they're not going to bring him up and start him against Rodon, but I would really like to see him play because like Jared Young's like he's my age, so he's probably not a future solution there, but Mervis could be. So, and then what was the other thing you said? Yeah, I think it's time for Wisdom. I think it's time.
Right, his tribe has spoken.
Yeah, well, he struck out I think 50 times in his last 90 plate appearances.
Right. It's not great. So, all right. Coming up next, we preview Cubs Yankees. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen. Again, folks, we're going to be live this Sunday, 12:35 Central, for the first ever Locked On Cubs live broadcast exclusively on YouTube. It's going to be Tyone versus Carlos Rodon, who's making his Yankees debut as he's been out with an injury all year. He'll get his first start on Friday. Smiley against Cole Saturday, and Hendricks against Herman on Sunday, 6:05, 12:05, 12:35. Aaron Judge is still out. Yankees offense is pretty cold the last 7 days. aside from Volpe and IKF. And the starters have not pitched well recently, but the bullpen has been solid. Cubs have not won a game in the new Yankee Stadium. Sam?
How on brand is it that the last series before the break, the Yankees decide to bring back Rodon and get himself ready against the Cubs? Usually you just wait till the break, right?
Right. What's the one start going to do?
Yeah. And it's pretty on brand. The other thing that's starting to get really irritating for me is players that aren't very good, like Victor Caratini and Wilson Contreras just crushing the Cubs this year. And you feel like Anthony Rizzo will be due for that. Another guy really struggling lately. His slug down to a meager 414 at the easiest place to hit a home run in the land. So,
right.
I can't sit here and say I feel good about this with the way Tyone and Smiley have thrown and Rodon and Garrett Cole on the way. But Hendricks and German's a favorable matchup if Hendricks could keep it in the park, which he's been doing at an elite level. So you like to steal one of the first two and then get Hendricks on the mound Sunday, see if you can get to the All-Star break with a little bit of momentum. I really would like to win a game here. I believe they're 0-9.
And I know I have some goofy energy today, but a future Yankee Cody Bellinger is hot, and maybe he puts one out this weekend.
Yeah, he had a quote. He had a quote after Thursday's game saying, he hopes they keep the group together. It's a good group, and it's like, you should have thought of that when we were losing every day for like a.
Should have thought of that in May,
right? And that's why, guys, it's not 1 of 162. Move on from that expression. It's 1 of 80-something, and those matter a lot. Houston, Miami. Remember that game after, what was it, the 4th game of the year when we went live when Ross wouldn't pull Smiley? You win that game, you're just 6 out. That's a 2-game swing. Every game mattered so much leading up to this, and now we're starting to play a fun brand of baseball, and let's just, hopefully they get hot. You never know. Friday night, I will be out, so I won't be watching this game. And,
all right,
that
might that's nice, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, I planned it around the Tyone starts.
Okay, nice. That makes sense.
Maybe going back to his old stomping grounds will get him going.
Okay. Please join us Sunday for the last game of the first half. Right here, 12:35 Central, as we do a watch along for Cubs Yankees. Shout out to the everydayers who are with us.
Not our year. Just not our year.
You could become an everydayer by checking us
out. Future's brighter than you think.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. We're also
it's always next year.
We're also on Apple Spotify. And wherever you get your podcast and streaming on SiriusXM. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.